Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to Gary Mack Studio. I'm going to do something a little different today. What you see up on the screen is a clock face, and my son-in-law is is a clockmaker, and he takes these antique clocks and takes them completely apart and rebuilds them and gets them running like new again. And when he gets one that's unusual, an unusual movement, then he'll call me in and explain to me how these things work. And he's really shown me some exotic movements before, and then he showed me this one last weekend, and I thought I would share it with you guys because it's very interesting. And this guy is very knowledgeable about a lot of things. And this clock was made in the late 1800s, and he explains how this thing works. And what he does, he goes in to the people's houses that want their clock repaired, and he'll take the movement out of the case and just bring the movements to his shop most of the time, and then repairs them, gets them running, and then he videos the repairs that he makes to show to the client. So I'm going to turn this over to him and just let him explain to you how this thing works. And to me, this mechanical side of this thing is so interesting. And how he learned to do this stuff, I'll never know, except just like anything else, put a hand to it, study it, learn it, and do it. And so now I'm going to show several images, different parts of the clock. And this part right here are where these hammers will strike the gongs or bells or whatever it is on there. I would love to go and hear this thing play because it plays different tunes. And he said it was just beautiful how that worked. And here's an image of some of the parts of this thing. It's all tore down, and how in the heck he knows where everything goes is beyond me, because that looks very complicated to me. More images of a little closer up of some of the parts on this thing, and boy, there are just hundreds of parts on there, and some of these parts he has to fabricate himself if he can't get a part for it. Got gears and more gears, and here's the body of this thing, and he's going to explain how this works here in a minute. He's going to get it up on his rack and explain everything how this thing works, and it's very interesting. So now I'm going to turn this over to Robin, and he's going to tell you how this works. So y'all welcome Robin Nance at robinclocks.com. And thank you, Robin. I enjoy listening to you.
Okay, Ben and Nancy, probably more particularly Ben. This is your clock movement up on the test stand here. I haven't put the dial on yet. You can see it's down here at the bottom. I always test them with the dial off for a day or two at least, especially one this complex, in case there's some adjustment that needs to be made behind the dial. So we're just looking at it up here on the test stand running. I'm going to come in here now. These are the way the weights go. The biggest one on the right, the next biggest on the left, and the smallest in the middle. And this is your clock movement up here and running though. You can see the complexity of it. I'm just going to go through a couple little things real quickly. So first of all, this is the snail right here. And this is the rack for the snail. So on your clock, we have 3 trains of gears. The right train with the heaviest weight is for the chiming on the quarter hours. The left train with the next lightest weight is for the striking, the count of the hour. And the middle train of gears is what's driving the pendulum, pushing the pendulum back and forth. We call them chiming, striking, and going. So anyways, the chiming and striking work with all these various levers here and pins on gears and gathering pallets. And the striking side, you can see how many teeth this rack has on it up here. And it goes down and interacts with the snail. When the bottom of the rack, the lower part of the rack, falls onto this step of the snail, it counts once. When it falls into the deepest part, it counts 12, 11, 10, 9. So this is how it knows how many times to count, and as the hands move, these pieces move with it. Back in here is the quarter cam. It tells it what quarter it's going to chime, and it's got 4 steps, one for each quarter. There's lifting pins on the inside of that. I've had to straighten them. They were all messed up. Then these little pieces right in here are called gathering pallets. They gather up the racks. And I'm going to show you how this all works. So we're at going on 3/4 of an hour. So I'm going to move the minute hand forwards to let it start to play the chime. It won't do the strike at the 3/4. It only does the strike at the hour. But as we approach the 3rd quarter of the hour, you're going to see levers moving in here, lifting up, releasing the rack. The rack will fall onto whatever step it's supposed to hit, which is in this case the 3rd deepest step, because it's going to strike the 3rd quarter. This rack will fall this way. And as the hand approaches each quarter of an hour, it does what's called the warn. And I'll show you that right now. So you can see these little levers moving. That was the warn. So the clock hasn't started to play yet. It's a couple minutes before the quarter. And then when it releases, you're going to see the gathering pallet start to pick up these teeth on this rack. And it's playing as well. There's 1/4. 2/4 and 3/4. And there's a pin that the gathering pallet stops against right here. I've already shown you that this pin had to be replaced. It's a stop for the rack on the chiming side. Anyway, now we're going to approach the hour. So at the hour, this falls even further onto this snail. And then this rack will fall as far as it can for the hour that's supposed to be counting. And there's going to be a warn again before the hour. So here we are approaching the hour. So the rack on the chiming side will release. And it releases as far as it's going to because it only does 4/4. We're going to move this a little bit farther forwards, and the snail on the striking side will release. And that fell into here, probably about 4 o'clock. And then as we cross over the hour, the chiming gathering pallet will work for count 4/4, and then levers up in here will start to move and release the striking side when the chiming side. There we go. And now the strike will count. There's 2, 3, and 4. So that's a quick synopsis of how this works. There are pins inside on gears, gathering pallets, levers, cams. It's quite complicated. This is a very, very complicated clock movement. Anyway, I've got it up and running. It's been running for quite a while. Everything looks fine. I'm going to leave the dial off for a little bit longer. And this clock has one other feature that no other clock in the world has. Only clocks made by this company have this feature. If the time changes by an hour or more, you can move the hour hand to whatever hour you want the clock to count. No other clock in the world does this. This is a patented situation. And I'll describe more about this when we're in person. But if it's 6 o'clock right now, and tomorrow it's going to be well, let's say that right now the time has just changed and it's no longer 6 o'clock, it's gone backwards to 5 o'clock. Well, if the dial were on, you can move this hand back to the 5 and everything would be fine. If it were going forwards an hour to the 7, this is quite stiff to move, but it's okay. This moves to the 7. This is a very unusual clock for this idea. The concept of this was not even thought of until this company made it. Instead of having to go forwards though or backwards to set the clock through all the quarters, this clock, if it's hours off, can be changed by just moving the hour hand. Again, I'll go through this when we get there in person. But this is it up and running. The weights are staggered right now because the weights are so big they hit against the post on my beams here. So I've had to stagger them. In normal circumstances, they might not be staggered, although it doesn't hurt like that. I'm just going to test this for a while, and when everything goes fine, I'll get it back to you. I'll probably put the dial on later today.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed that interview there with Robin about his clock. To me, it's very interesting. And the guy's very knowledgeable. He's done a lot of things. He's been a professional race car driver and instructor. He's been around the world, and now he repairs antique clocks. And it would take, to get all those little parts to working right, and he's got this little tiny lathe, metal lathe. It's just miniature that he makes these parts on, and it really intrigues me. And I really enjoy it. And when he gets one of these clocks, I'll go and watch how they work and how he repaired them. So as soon as I get this one up and running, I got an experiment of my own, and this is I'm going to experiment with some denim. I stretched some denim fabric over a frame and just sewed it up and going to sand it, and I'm going to paint on that as soon as I get through here. And if you guys will see, I do paintings. I got paintings everywhere, and this is what I do on my YouTube channel, is what you're seeing right now, just different things. I love different stuff. So my next video is going to be about this little canvas here, and I made a small one just to as an experiment to see how that works. Anyway, you guys please subscribe and give me a thumbs up, and tell your friends. I sure would appreciate it. And I guess we'll catch you guys on my next video when you see this painting. So we'll see you next time. Love y'all. Bye bye.